For spring break a couple of years ago, I went with some friends to a cabin. It was my friend Alex's parents' cabin, and it was out west. His family was pretty wealthy and were very nice to let us stay there for free. It was super nice. The place was very isolated and on a bunch of land. Plus there were 2 floors, a basement, I think 6 bedrooms, and 8 bathrooms. 3 of us were going to stay there during our spring break from college. Me, Kevin, and Alex. We were planning on doing some snowboarding, snowmobiling, and other types of winter sports. It was near some mountains and up north, so there would still be plenty of snow on the ground at this time of year. When spring break started, and we all had made it back from our colleges, my friends and I met up at Alex's house and then drove up in his SUV. It took about 3 hours to get there, but it was definitely worth it. The first time I saw that property, I was amazed at how nice it was. The first day there was great, and we were able to do some snowboarding nearby. We stopped at a local grocery store in the local town and got some foods to cook. The local town was a good 15 minutes away, just because of how much out there we were. That night, we cooked and hung out inside. There was a nice pool table we used for a while, and during a game, there was a knocking on the front door. I remember that when it happened, Alex said, "That's strange. Typically nobody else ever came to the door of the cabin." Alex walked out of the game room and made his way to the front of the house near the front door. He returned less than a minute later. "Who was there?" Kevin asked. "Nobody," Alex replied. "You guys heard that, right? I'm not crazy," he said. We had all heard it. He said nobody was in sight, and this was particularly odd because there was a very long driveway. Even if the person had walked away right after knocking, you would probably see them go back down the driveway. We all kind of shrugged it off and went back to our pool game. We played for maybe another hour and then all decided to go to bed. Each of us would be staying upstairs in our own bedrooms. When I got to the bedroom I was staying in, I was really impressed with that as well. There was a large bed, a big TV mounted on the wall across from it, and a connecting bathroom. There was other furniture as well, and it was very comfortable. I got settled in and turned on the TV. It was maybe 11 o'clock at night at that point. About 15 minutes into watching some Sports Center, and I saw Kevin had typed something in our group chat. We had created a group chat with just Alex, Kevin, and I. I opened his message, which said, "Guys, I was looking out my window, and I saw somebody walking in the backyard." I saw that Alex was viewing the message at the same time. I got up and left my bedroom. When I got into the hallway, I saw Alex and Kevin were both in the hallway as well. We all walked over to Kevin's bedroom, which was on the opposite side of the hallway that Alex and I were staying on. He went over to the window and said he didn't see the person anymore. It was really dark out in the backyard, and part of it had woods in it. He pointed to where there were several trees, and he said he saw what appeared to be a man walking from behind one tree to another. Alex asked him if he was positive that it was a man, and not a bear or maybe some other large animal. Kevin said he was 100% sure. We all knew that something was going on. Nobody else was supposed to be in the yard. The property was private and about 25 acres, so it was a really big space. Alex called his parents. It was late, but they were still up. He told them about the knocking on the door and Kevin seeing somebody in the backyard. His parents had no idea who it would be or why somebody would be back there. They said if we saw somebody in the yard again, we should probably call the police because they would be trespassing. All of the doors were locked, so from there, we just decided to go to bed and hope that whoever it was would go away. When I got back to my room, I really wasn't scared at all, but I was slightly concerned. I felt pretty safe because of how nice the house was and knowing I was up on the 2nd floor. I fell asleep and slept well. The next morning, we all got up and everything seemed fine. We made breakfast and then went out to do some more winter activities. We were gone for most of the day, snowboarding at a nearby city, and when we were out, it snowed a pretty decent amount. The roads were kind of rough going back, and we realized that it would be great weather to use the snowmobiles that were in the garage at Alex's cabin. When we got back, that's exactly what we did. I think we were out riding them mostly around Alex's yard for a couple hours. We got back to the house when we were all super hungry and wanted to cook some food. However, when we made it back to the house, we saw that there were tracks in the snow going all around it and then going to the woods on the side of the property. We hadn't seen anybody when we were out snowmobiling in the yard, but when we had left, the tracks also weren't there. After examining them, it proved to be tracks from boots and not animal tracks. We realized whoever had been there the night before was likely still on the property. We were all creeped out by this and went inside. There wasn't really anything we could do though, so we made some food and then played some pool again. A little ways into the game, we heard the doorbell ring. Alex rolled his eyes. "Not again," he said. The doorbell rang again and again. Somebody was pressing on it repeatedly. Alex sprinted out of the room to the front door. Kevin and I ran after him. When we got to the front door, we saw nobody there. They must have ran away again. Alex, angry at this point, opened the door and screamed out that whoever was there better leave now because he was calling the police. Then he shut the door and locked it. He said he really didn't want to call the police, but if anything else happened that night, he would. After talking, we decided to go home the next morning. Somebody was out in the yard messing with us, and we didn't know who they were or if they were dangerous. We had originally planned for the trip to be 4 days, but decided to cut it to 3. We went up to our bedrooms to go to sleep. When I was in my bedroom, out of nowhere, I heard a noise coming from my window. It was like something had struck it. I walked over and looked outside, but saw nothing. After sitting back down in bed, it happened again almost instantly. I ran back over and looked outside, and I saw what appeared to be somebody moving behind a tree quickly. They must have thrown something at my window. I sent a message in the group chat saying what had happened, and within a minute, all 3 of us were in my room looking out the window. Then we saw him. Some guy appeared from behind a tree for like a second before disappearing into the woods after seeing us. All we could tell was that it was a man, and he had a large jacket on and a winter hat. We watched the window for several more minutes, but he didn't return. Eventually, we all went back to our bedrooms and fell asleep. We woke up the next morning to see everything appeared fine. We packed up our stuff, made some breakfast, and then loaded up Alex's SUV. When we were loading up the car, Alex noticed something. He saw some new footprints that were going from the house into the backyard. They led right up to the old shed that was behind the garage. He started walking over to it. When he reached it, he opened the door and then suddenly came back sprinting to us. He was waving his arms and we all got inside the car. Then we saw a man emerge from the shed. It was no doubt the same guy. Alex got inside the car and we drove away from there and called the police on the guy. Long story short, the person who kept messing with us was a guy who was living in the shed. I don't know why he was or why he kept messing with us, but he certainly wasn't supposed to be there. The police were able to find him on the property, but I will never forget that trip. This happened during spring break of 2019 when I was in college. I'm a female and was going to go on a spring break trip with my friend Sammy. We were going to Southern California for 5 days. This was only my second time going to California and my first time since I was 8, so I was really excited. Sammy had been there the previous summer and had been telling me about how cool it was. We had booked a hotel long in advance, and after we flew there, we got a lift from the airport to the hotel. It was the afternoon when we got there, and our plan was to check into the hotel and then go to the beach. We checked into our room, which was pretty standard, and then left the hotel. We went to the beach, which was quite busy. It was a really popular destination for people to go, and the weather was amazing, like it usually is there. Sammy and I hung out around the beach for a while. It was very relaxing, and after a few hours, it started to get dark out, and we headed back to the hotel. When Sammy and I got back to the hotel, we were in the room for no more than 5 minutes when there was a knocking on the door. I said that I would get it. I got up, walked over, and opened the door as Sammy stayed back sitting on her bed looking at her phone. I opened up the door, but just a few inches, and I still had the chain lock on it. I saw a man standing there. He was tall and thin, with brown hair, a slight beard, and was wearing a blue t-shirt and jeans. He said hi to me and then told me that he was sorry to bother me, but he had stayed in this exact hotel room the previous night and had checked out that morning. He told me that he thought he had lost something and was sure that he forgot it inside the room. He asked if he could come in and look around for a second. Just then, Sammy shouted my name. I looked back at her and she asked if she could show me something. I told the man 1 moment please, and I walked over to Sammy. She was at the far end of the room. When I reached her, she whispered in my ear to not let the man in. She told me whatever I do not let him in. I walked back to the door, slightly smiling to look friendly. I asked the man what it was exactly that he had lost, and maybe we could find it for him. The man interrupted me and asked if he could just come inside and look. He said he thought he knew where it was, and that it would only take a minute or 2. I told the man no, and then shut the door in his face. As I shut the door, he attempted to stop the door from closing, but was unsuccessful. I then locked the other lock and asked Sammy who the guy was. Sammy told me that she had seen that man at the beach staring at her, and he seemed to kind of be following her. She wasn't 100% sure, but now that she was seeing him here, she knew he was probably just trying to get inside the room. I felt really creeped out when I heard this. I walked over to the door and looked out at the people. The man was still standing there. I showed Sammy, and we both decided to call the front desk. After speaking with them, they told us they would have the man leave, and thankfully, he did. We found out he had not stayed in the hotel the previous night either. Last year, I went on a spring break vacation with 3 of my friends. My name is Ashley, and my friends I was going with were Erica, Haley, and Jenna. We made the plans for spring break several months in advance, and were all very excited. All of us went to college together. We had become friends our freshman year, and we were now seniors at the time. It was our second year in a row of traveling together for spring break. And the year prior, we had gone to Los Angeles. Our flight left the day after school ended, and when we got there, we went to our hotel first. We were staying in a hotel that was right in the city, so we would be able to walk places. In the hotel, we had rented 2 rooms because there was 4 of us. The first day that we were there, we went to a restaurant in town and did some sightseeing. On the second day, we did some of the same activities and, of course, went to the beach. At night, we went to a couple of bars. We all had a lot of fun, and the very next night, we decided to go back to some more bars. We also went to a nightclub. There in Miami for spring break, it was very busy. People were everywhere. There was loud music and all kinds of different lights going. I remember that the 4 of us got split up a bit. We were there for probably about an hour, and I was trying to find any of my friends when I was approached by a seemingly random guy. He told me that my friend Erica was looking for me. I hadn't seen Erica in a while, and I asked the man where she was. He then started walking away. I followed him, and he told me that she had asked him to find me. I asked the guy if Erica was all right, and he told me that yes, she was fine, and he was showing me where she was. We walked towards what seemed to be the back of the club. It was pretty big overall and had multiple bar areas. Finally, we made it to a hallway, and then he opened an exit door. When we made it outside, I saw that we were in some dark alley. I didn't see Erica anywhere, though. I asked the man where she was. Then, he told me that she was in the club, but I was going to go with him. Then the guy grabbed my arm suddenly. There was this random car parked in the alleyway with the lights turned off, and they suddenly turned on. Then I saw there appeared to be somebody in the driver's seat. We started to walk over. At that point, the back door to the club opened up again. I looked over and saw Jenna. She started yelling, and then I saw some other guy in the door as well. They both began to walk outside. At this point, the man finally let me go. He then got inside of the car, and they sped away. Jenna came running out to me and asked me if I was okay. Some other guy was holding the door open. He turned out to be somebody that Jenna had met, and he was actually really nice. I'm just happy that I was okay. I called Erica, and we were able to find her and Haley as well. They were both inside and fine. We decided to leave after that. The man that had spoken to me had talked with Erica earlier. She told me that she thought he was really weird. That's how he knew she was my friend, though. He was able to use that knowledge into making me think he was leading me to her.